Some doors should never be opened. Some invitations should never be accepted. And some places exist solely to remind us that humanity's capacity for evil knows no bounds. What follows is a story of trust betrayed, of predators who wear masks of friendship, and of the thin line between civilization and savagery. This is not a tale for the faint of heart. The story. The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, buried among the usual spam and work emails. Marcus almost deleted it without reading. Exclusive opportunity, Prague Adventure Weekend, all expenses paid. The sender claimed to represent a travel company offering a unique cultural experience to select individuals. Marcus had never heard of Aurora Experiences, but the attached photos were stunning. Ancient castles, cobblestone streets, and what appeared to be a luxurious private villa nestled in the Czech countryside. "Why me?" Marcus muttered, scrolling through the professionally designed email. He was a mid-level accountant from Ohio, hardly the type for exclusive anything. The email explained he'd been selected based on his profile and interests, though Marcus couldn't remember filling out any travel surveys. The package included flights, accommodation, meals and guided tours. All they needed was confirmation within 48 hours. Marcus stared at his cubicle walls, at the stack of invoices waiting to be processed, at his sad desk lunch of microwaved leftovers. Prague. He'd always wanted to travel, but never had the money or the courage to go alone. Against his better judgment, he clicked accept. The flight to Prague was uneventful. Marcus found himself seated next to a nervous-looking woman named Sarah, who mentioned she'd received the same mysterious invitation. They bonded over their shared bewilderment and excitement. "Did you look up this Aurora Experiences company?" Sarah asked as they descended toward Václav Havel Airport. "I tried," Marcus admitted. "Their website is pretty basic. Just stock photos and vague descriptions about authentic experiences." At the airport, a cheerful man in an expensive suit held a sign with their names. "Welcome to Prague. I'm Victor, your host. I hope you're ready for an unforgettable weekend." The drive to the villa took nearly 2 hours, winding through increasingly remote countryside. Sarah dozed against the window while Marcus watched the landscape grow more isolated. No other cars, no houses, just dense forest and gathering darkness. "Here we are," Victor announced as they pulled through ornate iron gates. "Villa Moravec, built in the 18th century, recently restored to its former glory." The villa was indeed beautiful. A sprawling stone mansion with towers and arched windows, surrounded by manicured gardens. But something felt wrong. The windows were dark, and Marcus noticed the iron gates had closed behind them with an electronic hum. "Where are the other guests?" Sarah asked, voicing Marcus's own concern. "They're resting," Victor replied smoothly. "Jet lag, you understand. You'll meet them at dinner." Their rooms were on the second floor, connected by a long hallway, lined with portraits of stern-faced aristocrats. Marcus's room was luxurious, but felt like a museum. Everything too perfect, too staged. He tried the window. Locked. The handle wouldn't budge, and when he examined it closer, he saw the locks were the kind that required a key from both sides. For safety, he told himself, though his hands were beginning to shake. Dinner was served in a grand dining room, lit by candles. Marcus and Sarah were joined by 3 other guests, all Americans, all young professionals who'd received the same mysterious invitation. They compared stories over wine and roasted duck, their initial nervousness giving way to laughter and camaraderie. Victor played the perfect host, regaling them with local history and pouring generous glasses of wine. The staff, silent, efficient people who seemed to appear and disappear like shadows, kept their glasses full and their plates loaded. "Tomorrow we'll explore the castle ruins," Victor promised, "and I have a very special tour planned for the evening, something most tourists never get to see." Marcus felt drowsy after dinner, the wine and rich food making his eyelids heavy. He excused himself early, stumbling slightly as he stood. Sarah giggled, equally affected by the alcohol. Back in his room, Marcus collapsed onto the bed without undressing. His last coherent thought was wondering why he felt so dizzy after just 2 glasses of wine. Marcus woke to screaming. It was still dark, and for a moment he couldn't place the sound. Then it came again. A raw, desperate shriek that seemed to come from somewhere below. His head pounded, and his mouth tasted like metal. He stumbled to the door and tried the handle. Locked. The screaming stopped abruptly, leaving only silence and the rapid beating of Marcus's heart. He pressed his ear to the door, straining to hear footsteps or voices. Nothing. He tried the window again, pulling at the frame until his fingers bled. The glass was thick, reinforced. Even if he could break it, it was a 30-foot drop to the stone terrace below. Light began to filter through the curtains. Marcus sat on the bed, trying to think clearly. The wine had been drugged. Around noon, the door opened. Victor entered with a breakfast tray, his smile as warm as ever. "Good morning, Marcus. I trust you slept well." "Where's Sarah?" Marcus demanded. "I heard screaming last night." Victor's smile never wavered. "Sarah is fine. She's having a private tour of the wine cellars. Very exclusive access." He set the tray on the small table. "Eat up. You'll need your strength for today's activities." "I want to leave," Marcus said. "Now." "Oh, but the weekend isn't over yet," Victor replied, his tone still pleasant, but his eyes hardening. "And you haven't experienced the real attraction yet, the thing that makes this place so special." He moved to the door, then paused. "I should mention the villa is quite secure. The grounds are fenced, the gates are locked, and we're 40 kilometers from the nearest town. Even if you were to somehow get outside, well," he shrugged, "the forest can be very dangerous for someone who doesn't know the way." After Victor left, Marcus heard the lock engage with a solid click. He didn't touch the food. Hours passed. Marcus paced his room, examined every inch of the walls and floor, searched for anything that might serve as a weapon or a tool. The furniture was bolted down. The bathroom had no sharp objects, no mirror he could break. Even the hangers in the closet were made of soft plastic. As evening approached, Victor returned, with 2 large men Marcus hadn't seen before. "Time for your special tour," Victor announced. Marcus backed against the window. "I'm not going anywhere with you." One of the men stepped forward, a mountain of muscle with dead eyes and scarred knuckles. Marcus had never been in a real fight in his life. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way," Victor said. "But either way, you are coming with us." Marcus chose to walk. They led him through corridors he hadn't seen before, down stone steps that grew older and cruder with each level. The air became colder, thick with moisture and something else, a metallic smell that made his stomach turn. The basement was medieval, all stone arches and iron brackets that might once have held torches. Now they held something else entirely. Modern equipment lined the walls, cameras on tripods, surgical instruments laid out on metal tables, and in the center of the room, a chair that looked like something from a dentist's office, if dentists were into restraints and drainage systems. "Welcome to the real Villa Moravec," Victor said, his facade finally dropping. "This is where we film our most exclusive content. Very niche market, you understand. Very lucrative." Marcus saw the other guests then, what was left of them. Sarah was strapped to a table, barely conscious, her eyes unfocused with Marcus vomited, his legs giving out. Victor caught him, almost gently. "The beauty of modern technology," Victor continued conversationally, "is that we can keep you alive for days, weeks even, with the right medical attention. Our clients pay premium prices for extended content." "Please," Marcus whispered. "Please, I have money. I can pay you more than—" "Oh, Marcus," Victor laughed, "you still don't understand. You are the payment. You're the product." They dragged him to the chair, the restraints closing around his wrists and ankles with practiced efficiency. Victor moved to a computer setup, cameras whirring to life. "We're about to go live," Victor announced to his audience of monsters, "broadcasting to clients in 17 countries. Tonight's feature is a classic, the slow revelation of mortality. How long can hope survive in the face of inevitable suffering?" A red light blinked on one of the cameras. "Good evening, distinguished guests," Victor said to the lens. "Welcome to another exclusive presentation from Villa Moravec. Tonight's subject is Marcus, a 29-year-old accountant from Ohio who thought he was getting a free vacation." The first cut was shallow, just across his forearm. Marcus screamed, more from terror than pain. The sound echoed off the stone walls, and somewhere in the darkness beyond the cameras, Sarah whimpered. "As you can see," Victor continued his narration, "the subject is highly responsive. This promises to be a memorable evening." Hours passed, or maybe days. Marcus drifted in and out of consciousness, his world reduced to cycles of agony and brief, merciful darkness. He could hear other victims in the shadows, some begging, some praying, some who moved beyond either into wordless suffering. The cameras never stopped rolling. Marcus never knew how he survived that night. Maybe Victor got careless. Maybe one of the other victims created a distraction. Maybe simple luck intervened. But somehow, in the chaos of another session, he managed to work one hand free from its restraint. What followed was desperation given form, a primal fight for survival that bypassed conscious thought. Marcus found a scalpel, then Victor's throat. The man who had orchestrated so much suffering died with surprising speed, his perfectly practiced English dissolving into gurgled Czech. The keys to the restraints were in Victor's pocket. Marcus freed Sarah first. She was barely alive, but breathing. Then the others, who could still be saved. The police found them 18 hours later, after Marcus had somehow managed to call for help using Victor's own phone. The investigation that followed revealed a network of similar operations across Eastern Europe, feeding content to a global audience of people who paid fortunes to watch human suffering. 11 victims were found in the villa's basement levels. 7 were still alive. The Villa Moravec was demolished in the spring of 2024. The grounds were consecrated by 3 different religious orders before being turned into a memorial garden. The surviving victims received extensive therapy and new identities. Marcus returned to Ohio, but never to his old life. He works now with organizations that combat human trafficking, carrying the weight of those who didn't escape, alongside the burden of those who did. The internet is vast, and there are still places where people pay to watch suffering. There are still villas in remote locations, still smiling hosts with expensive suits and calculating eyes, still invitations that arrive in ordinary email inboxes. Trust, they say, is the first casualty of true horror. But perhaps, in a world where predators wear masks of kindness, a little paranoia is not madness but wisdom. Some doors should never be opened. Some invitations should never be accepted. Remember that the next time you get an email that seems too good to be true. But tell me, what would you have done? When that email arrived in Marcus's inbox, promising adventure and escape from the mundane, would you have been strong enough to delete it? Or would curiosity have won, just like it did for him? We all want to believe we'd be smarter, more cautious. We tell ourselves we'd see the red flags, trust our instincts, make better choices. But in the cold light of our ordinary lives, when that golden opportunity appears, how sure are you, really? Drop a comment below and let me know. Have you ever received a suspicious offer that was just tempting enough to make you pause? What stopped you from taking the bait? Or what made you click accept? And if this story kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales that will make you think twice about trusting strangers, and maybe even yourself. Sweet dreams.